Hey Kate, how are you? Or
And just trying to wing it
Kara, sorry.
this whole process.
Good.
So you're probably asking, Adam, what do
Yes, if you could just keep yourself on mute, that would be good. Hey Susie, how are you? Just seeing everybody filter in. Hey David, Ross, Julia, Kristen. Hey guys, welcome. Nice to see you all. Okay, we're just going to give it a couple minutes and let some folks filter in. I'll start off in about less than a minute or so. And just as a FYI, guys, this is all being recorded as well too. So don't worry, we'll send you the replay when we're finished. And just so everybody's clear as well too, this workshop is for early stage food and beverage founders. So whether you're thinking about launching a brand or you're in process of launching a brand or you are already launched and live and just want some information, this is for you. So specifically for food, beverage, supplement, CPG brands. Cool. Hey, John. Hi, Marnie. How are you? Hey, everybody. Okay, cool. So it's 10:02 Balsam. Should I get this roll?
So the net hair.
Yes, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, great. And Balsam, you'll keep an eye on the chat for me as well, too.
Yes, for any questions, I will more than happy to let you know.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, guys, welcome to the Power Hour. My name is Danielle Calabrese. I have been in this space for about 17, 18 years or so, working specifically in food and beverage, CPG brands. I have launched several brands myself. I have operated a couple different companies. I've been the CEO of a bakery, a large scale bakery company, the president of a beverage company. So I've really seen a lot. And now I have an agency where I help early stage founders make sure that they're launching with great strategy, great plan, and really just avoiding common pitfalls, building a strong foundation, and setting themselves up for long-term growth in all channels. I've seen a lot of founders and a lot of brands. I myself have made a lot of mistakes over the years as well too. So my whole goal with this workshop and really just my agency and my programs in general is to help people stop wasting time and money. So that's our goal here. So launching a CPG brand without a strategic plan can really lead to costly mistakes. Like I just mentioned, I have been in your shoes before. I've been a founder and I've also been an operator working inside of several different companies. And without a plan, we plan to fail. So it can really lead to costly mistakes and it just slows you down essentially. And there's nothing more frustrating, especially when you already have a really limited budget and limited resources, than wasting money and time. So like I said, I've been there before. So today we're going to work on how to help you launch smarter, faster, and really be capital efficient. So spending your money wisely, using your capital in the most effective strategic way. And really just this information is going to give you a stronger chance of long-term success. So, okay. So today I want you to walk away with an understanding of what it takes to launch. So we're going to look at a step-by-step strategy for bringing your food or beverage CPG brand to market from idea all the way down to execution. So I'm going to walk you through like my framework that I've used to launch hundreds of brands, and it's really just like a front to back process. I'm going to give some industry insights and best practices. So we're going to talk about key lessons on branding, supply chain, marketing, and sales from myself, who I have successfully launched and grown brands, like I've mentioned to you guys. And of course, we want to avoid costly mistakes. And there's LaunchLab as a resource. So really just using LaunchLab as a way to deepen your knowledge if you're new here. And working in LaunchLab, you get to work with me and a group of many other founders that are really on the same journey that you're on. So you have a group of people to bounce ideas off of and get great strategy and just ensure that you're thinking through every step of the way. Okay. All right, guys. So these are the four phases of the launch method that I have put together, tried and true over many years and used and tested on many different companies. So phase one is where we ideate, identify, and validate. Phase two is the creation section. So this is where we actually start to build the brand. Phase three is the funding section. This is how we figure out how much money we're going to need, where we're going to get this money, what type of company we're trying to build, what our long-term financial goals are. And then phase four is the fun part when we really start to think about how we're going to market and sell our brand before we launch and then post-launch. Okay. Okay, so in this workshop, you're going to need a business idea or an existing brand. I recommend taking notes, but like I said, we've got a replay, so no worries. And really just an open mind, action oriented. Like there's really no such thing as a stupid question. If there's something that I say that you're like, what is she talking about? Or what is that term or whatnot? Just drop it in the chat and Balsam will interrupt me and I'll make sure we get all your questions answered. In addition, guys, at the end of the workshop, we're gonna drop a link for my 15-minute call as well too. So if like you still want to talk about anything or you have like questions on Launch Lab or whatnot, you can schedule a quick call with me post workshop too. Okay, let's get going. So what you're facing. Okay, let me know in the chat if you are going through some of this or you've gone through it or you're currently in it. You're confused on how to price your product, how much margin you'll need, and if you will be profitable. This is like the number one question that I think I get from founders. How do I price my product? Who needs what margins? They've heard a lot of things throughout like over time doing research. How do I know if I'm actually going to make money? Okay. Second thing, you're not sure how much startup capital you're going to need, and you're lost on what to spend on and what's reasonable. Also, fairly common question. There's so many different budgets that I've seen launching food and beverage CPG brands. It really just depends on what your long-term goals are and what phase you're at with your product. Okay. Maybe you don't have any clue on how to go about building an operating budget. Super normal. You just don't know what you're going to need and what type of costs are going to come up, right? You can't get a manufacturer to answer your emails and you're not sure if you need to spend money on an R&D partner. Raise your hand if this is you, if this has ever happened to you or you're currently in this. I would say, you guys, this is one of the top things that people complain about in this industry is, oh my gosh, Danielle, why can I not get a manufacturer to respond to me? I'm literally losing my mind. You're not alone. Don't worry. And then when it comes to retail, you just don't know where to start. Totally understandable. Retail, if you're not familiar with it, especially grocery, like it's a maze. It's a total spider web of a maze. And it takes a lot of planning and I highly recommend going narrow and deep versus casting a wide net at the beginning. You'll probably hear me say that a couple times over this workshop. But retail, there's a lot to think about and a lot to navigate at retail. And maybe you've never successfully pitched to a buyer or an investor and you just need guidance and a framework. I hear this a lot as well too. How should I position myself to a buyer? How should I position myself to an investor? Okay. And you have no clue how to figure out which channels to launch in and how to determine when it's time to open up new ones. Also, very common problem. How do I know at which channels I should be selling in and at what times? So in Launch Lab, in all my programs, we go through a very detailed spreadsheet that takes us through our cost of goods in three phases, and we look at all the different channels that you could potentially sell into. We look at Shopify. We look at direct wholesale. We look at wholesale with a distributor, wholesale with a UNFI and KE distributor, wholesale with a DSD distributor. We look at Target. We look at Amazon. We look at Costco. We look at Faire. We look at farmers markets. We look at basically everything that you could possibly sell into. And based on, every channel is different, right? Every channel takes different margins. Every channel has different requirements. And based on your cost of goods, and what your margins are telling us per channel, that's how we build your channel strategy. So we ensure that you are producing enough cash flow to continue on. Um, so there's that. What I'm explaining to you is the profit planning portion of Launch Lab, and I also do it one-on-one with people as well too. I would say that that's the number one sort of like unlock when I'm working with people is looking at it in this way because it really helps people to understand what they have to do with their cost of goods to be able to sell in at certain channels at different phases. Okay. You really want to launch your brand, but you don't feel confident that you have the right information and the right strategy to be successful, right? There's so many of you out there that have incredible ideas and like really just innovative products, and you have the drive. Maybe you've got the savings, you've got the resources, but you're just not sure on the strategy because you've probably never done this before. And that is also very common and very normal. So, I'm going to give you some tips here today. We only have 1 hour. I wish I had more time with you guys, but there's also lots of resources that I have for you as well, too. Okay. Now, guys, I'm going to go into my top 10 founder mistakes. And the reason I'm going to hit on this is because these are things that I see happen time and time again. And if you can avoid any of these mistakes, like you are going to be so much better off than you were before you entered into this workshop. Okay. So, number one, launching with gross product margins below 50% and no clear long-term path out. Okay. So, when I say this, oftentimes people say, wait, are you talking about a blended margin? Are you talking about like channel specific? I'm not talking about a blended margin because if you have a 50% margin in a channel where you're doing 90% of your revenue, like versus 10% of your revenue, like this isn't a blended margin. This is channel specific. And what I mean by long-term path out is it's normal and it's okay if you have cash in the bank to have less than a 50% gross margin. It I just want to make sure that you have a path out of it. Okay. So, say you're starting with a 35% gross margin at the beginning, but we know that once you hit phase two and phase three of your cost of goods, you're going to be in a much different situation. Like, that's okay. We're mapping out the path out, right? But if we're saying that we're at a 25% gross margin or a 30% gross margin, and we have no clue on how we're going to get our cost of goods into a better place, I probably wouldn't launch that product if I were you. Okay. Or I would like really dive deep to figure out how you're going to get it worked out. Again, this goes back to profit planning. Number two, trademark issues or failure to trademark. Okay, so trademarking is crucial. I don't care what anybody says. There's lots of like viral content on the internet from marketing people saying, oh, this person didn't trademark, they just started and whatnot. I would ignore that if you've consumed any of that content. Trademarking is crucial. If you want to be a legitimate brand, you must trademark. I bring in Launch Lab, I bring in a trademark attorney, Nicole Swartz, who is amazing. She has a 98% success rate, and she comes from bread and butter law, and she's very affordable, and she is a perfect example of why you must trademark. She had a brand herself, and she grew it to an international distribution, and she got hit with a cease and desist. And she had to shut her company down essentially because she didn't have the resources to do the full gut job on the brand. And she was already so deep in it that she literally shut her brand down and became a trademark attorney. So there's so many other stories. Like I please trademark your brand. Like it's not something that you can get around. If you aspire to have a sale or an exit or some kind of type of transaction down the road and your brand's not trademark, it's never going to happen. if you're not trademarked and you're trying to raise money, no one's gonna write you a check, or nobody outside of like your immediate friends and family are gonna write you a check. Okay. Number three, choosing the wrong partners, manufacturers, consultants, agencies, or kicking off with them at the wrong times. I see this so often. People coming to me just utterly disappointed because they aren't getting what they want out of their manufacturer, or they hired this consultant and this consultant sucks. They're not doing anything. Or they hired this marketing agency and this marketing agency isn't delivering. And I have what I, sure, there's a lot of agencies and manufacturers and consultants out there that aren't the greatest, right? But they're not bad people necessarily. Oh, not usually. It's usually just that you aren't managing them properly, or you are not working with them at the right stage, or you don't have the right strategy. You didn't come to them with the right strategy. So, like before you hire people, specifically consultants and agencies, make sure you are crystal clear that you're not trying to put a square peg into a round hole, right? Like, make sure your goals match up and they can do exactly what you need them to do. And like, if you're working with a branding agency, guys, come to them with brand strategy, or make sure that they do the brand strategy for you. Do not start design without brand strategy. I'm going to get to that in a second. So just this, I see this happen all the time. Okay, number four, poor channel strategy or misaligned pack sizes or ingredients. Let me give you an example. Say you want to launch an Erewhon. Okay, you're like, Erewhon is my dream retailer. It aligns perfectly with my customer base. I have to be an Erewhon. But then you develop your product and you forget to check the Erewhon list of banned ingredients. Okay, same thing goes for Whole Foods, same thing goes for Sprouts. And you realize that once you start launching, that you've got some like sub ingredient in your ingredient panel that they don't accept, like maltodextrin or maltitol or some alternative sweetener that they've, banned recently. Um, or certain, Air One specifically requires that certain categories are certified organic. Okay. So you need to really do your research and dive into what your dream retailers, requirements are for ingredients. Now, pack sizes, same goes with pack sizes. You want to make sure that if you're going into a specific channel, that you have a pack size that makes sense for that channel, right? This is something I work with a lot of my clients on, most of my clients on. Like if you are sitting on shelf, and you are a thin, tiny, tiny little pouch, you're not going to be able to just sell a thin, tiny little pouch on the shelf. It's going to have to sit in something, right? And that's a merchandiser. And that merchandiser needs to most likely go into a master case as well, too. So with retail, there's oftentimes multiple layers of packaging. Have you fully thought that through? And do you have the right pricing strategy that matches with your channel strategy? Okay. Oftentimes with D2C, right? We're selling on our website. We can get away with buying 1,000 loose pouches of our powdered supplement from our manufacturer, right? But you can't just sell loose bags to a retailer or a distributor. They have to come in master cases, okay? And then also, is your loose bag, is the price point too high to sell at retail, right? Like, are you selling it for 50 bucks on D2C? It's hard to take something that's $50 on D2C and sell it in retail. Like, can we do stick packs? Can we do a smaller size, right? Like, so really thinking through channel strategy, and like, if you're going to go into multiple channels, I highly recommend finding a pack size that's going to work for all channels versus, oh, this is my D2C packaging. This is my retail packaging, right? Eventually, sure. Like if you get into larger retail, you're gonna have different pack, like Costco has its own pack size, right? But that's like way down the road. Okay. Don't complicate things at the beginning. Launch with one pack size that's gonna work for everything if you can. More pack sizes equals more money that you have to spend on inventory, right? Number five, assuming D2C success will translate directly into retail. This is exactly what I was just talking about with the pack size stuff. Okay. So you're doing great. You've got your $50 supplement that you're selling at retail that you're selling D2C. And then a retailer comes to you or you approach a retailer and you're like, hey, my supplement, is perfect for your target demographic and whatnot. But then they want to sell it in a six, or they want to buy it, they need to buy it in a six pack. And then all of a sudden, it costs them $200 a case to buy it in a six pack. And that's just really not going to, that's just too high of a price point for a retailer to take a chance on a brand that they don't know, right? So I would just really, really think that through. And then also a lot of what also happens a lot of times is like you've got this like packaging that's like really beautiful and works really well online, but then you put it on the shelf and it totally blends in on the shelf and you can't even see it and it doesn't stand out, right? That happens all the time. So like I always recommend if you're going to be on retail, you're going to get into retail eventually, like take your packaging prototypes, literally walk into like your neighborhood natural specialty grocery store, put it on shelf and like take a photo of it, stand back. What does it look like? Okay. Is it completely blend in or does it totally pop and stand out? Right. At retail, we have to pop, we have to stand out. Pursuing retail before being retail ready. Okay. See this all the time. Oh, I want to get into retail. But again, I haven't worked out my pack sizes. I haven't worked out my pricing strategy. I don't have my sell sheet. I don't have my sales deck. Oh, but I'm having a conversation with this like, three-door grocery chain or 10-door grocery chain. Like that conversation's going to die real quick. Don't go to them and approach them if you don't have your packaging, your pack size, your pricing, and at least your sales deck and like your unique like hook with why you're going to drive incremental revenue, right? Buyers don't want to like they're really busy. They don't want to deal with somebody who like, you know, doesn't have their full package totally retail ready. So, I'm all about like moving quickly and strategically, but sometimes we just need to slow down a little bit and make sure that we actually really are ready. Okay. Number seven, believing the consumer facing end of the brand can be built on AI. I would say I see at least one of these a week. Okay. A founder comes to me with a brand that the front end of the brand, meaning packaging, packaging and design, essentially, socials, whatnot. And they've fully done the front end of their brand, the consumer facing side with AI, and it shows. Okay. Like you can see when a brand is fully built on AI. People can see right through that. Let me make myself clear though. I'm all about AI and leveraging AI tools 100% on the back end of the brand, on the back end. Okay. Operations, finance, accounting, there's so much stuff you can do with AI now, right? Like regulatory and compliance, label reviews, sales data systems that can like help with our buyer outreach, using AI to help us with our marketing content, even like building assets once we've developed the brand. But guys, please don't build the front end of your brand on AI. It's just so obvious and it looks bad and it's going to fall flat. I promise you. Okay. Hire a designer that is good, that works in the CPG space, that knows how to build a brand that stands out, that pops, that looks cool, that's going to resonate, right? Don't just be like, you know, use AI to build a brand in, 2 minutes and then wonder why no one's buying your brand. Okay. Last thing I'm going to say on that is like people want to emotionally connect with brands, right? Like we all want to emotionally connect with brands. That's why you guys are here because you're like, I imagine you're obsessed with brands in the same way I am, in the same way we all are, right? Like I'm obsessed with brands. And if I don't have an emotional connection to the brand, like, I'm not buying the brand. Just straight up. I'm just not going to buy it, you know? Take that time to like put some of you into the brand. Okay? Taking on too much and missing warning signs, super easy to get overwhelmed, especially if you're a solo founder. Oftentimes you've got a million plates spinning and like you're talking to this retailer, you know, you're working on your D2C orders, you're putting out a fire with your manufacturer, you're dealing with your accountants. You know, it's like there's a lot of plates spinning, but slow down and pace yourself because if you get too overwhelmed, it's really easy to stop looking at things like low velocities or lack of repeat purchases, or you know what I mean? Like things that are like really important business metrics that you should be following. If you're super overwhelmed and just doing too much, you can easily miss warning signs, right? So just pace yourself. Number nine, skipping brand strategy. You just heard me talk about this. Don't skip your brand strategy. A lot of you might be asking, what the heck is brand strategy? Brand strategy is your roadmap. Okay. It's what we're doing, who we are, our unique value propositions, how we're standing out in the market, how we're standing out in the crowded market, your founder bio, your founder story, your why, right? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? Why are you uniquely positioned to lead this company, right? What is it about your background or makes you just like perfect for this job, right? So all of that storytelling, you before you do anything visual, you need to create your brand strategy. If this overwhelms you, if you're not a brand person, say you're a finance person, say you're an ops person, you're an accountant, you're even a marketing people can often struggle with this as well too. Hire a brand strategist. Work with somebody who does this all day, every day, and can help you put together your brand strategy, right? Because this is another thing that people like to just like whip up an AI in 2 minutes. I saw a brand strategy 2 days ago and it was terrible. Like it actually was garbage. I was like, this brand is never going to make it. It's just not going to make it. It was a 3-page document that this founder had produced on AI, like through Claude, and it just wasn't interesting, unique. There was nothing telling me that this brand was unique or going to stand out in the market whatsoever. Okay. So take your time. I recommend working with Kelly Bennett. She's my go-to for brand strategy. Her and I share a ton of clients. She's also a contributor in Launch Lab. She is wonderful. So I please, before you start design, do your brand strategy, think through your concept. And it's great if you can do it with a third party. Last thing, piecemealing advice from too many sources. I see this a lot. We're getting a little information from chat. We're getting a little information from Claude. We've got this advisor over here. We're part of this program over here. I'm a part of this 6 different founder Slack channels. And then now what happens is there's so many tabs open. It's like paralysis by analysis. Like you don't know what to do because you're frozen. It's amazing how much access to information we have today, right? Like with AI, like we literally can like basically find the answer to a lot of what we need. But there's so much of it too that just needs like real life experience that I just see oftentimes founders joining a lot of different groups, mixing it with a lot of different AI sources, and then it resulting in just total overwhelm and they just don't know what to do and they're frozen, right? And that's when I go back to, okay, this is the roadmap, right? You guys saw the 4-part process that I walk people through. Like this is how we get from start to finish. And there's a ton of stuff in between, right? But those are the pillars. So I really recommend like finding a group that you really like that knows what they're doing and doubling down and working with them to get your brand fully launched. Okay. Okay, let's dive into the meat and potatoes of what we are doing here, which is building a brand. Okay, so phase one, we've got the ideate, identify, and the validate phase. Okay, so this is where we are formulating our idea. We don't have an actual product yet. We're just putting our concept together. So we're looking at our white space. Okay, we are maybe looking at syndicated data and doing grassroots research. You're out there, you're at your grocery store, you're online, you're shopping for products, you're like, where's my product? I can't find my product. And that's probably how you're getting your idea of launching your brand, right? So you can do that by looking at data. You can, go out there and, look at it in the stores and online. I do a lot of, field research myself. Then we need to validate your product idea. Okay, so how are we going to validate your product idea? In my next slide, I'm going to get into that. But you really need to look at the demand and what your competitive set is out there. I recommend doing that through, again, internet research, using Claude and chat, and also physically going into stores. Do not skip the physically going into stores part. It's crucial. Okay. Then we do some pricing research. We build out our cost of goods budgets. These are going to be budgets, most likely, right? And then we figure out how we're going to test the product, which I'll get to in just a second. Cost of goods budgets are a crucial piece here. So many of you are going to be asking, how am I supposed to put a budget together? I don't know my manufacturer yet. I have no clue who my suppliers are for my ingredients. I will have to say that this is one thing that I really do specialize in because I have so much experience. I'm very familiar with like categories and how much things cost as it relates to ingredients, packaging, whatnot. So if you do work with me in Launch Lab, I will help you go through and say, if you're a beverage, this is what we should be in the range of. If you are a chip brand, this is what it's going to look like. If you're a supplement, this is what it's going to look like, right? Okay. Then we get into the brand strategy. We're laying the foundation. We're fully fleshing out our idea before we really spend money, like really spend money. We're fleshing out our idea on brand strategy. And then we can start to build a channel strategy based on the cost of goods budgets and the brand strategy. Okay. Okay, now I wanted to put these in here. You guys may be familiar with these brands. These are a couple brands who are recently in Launch Lab. We've got Little Twists, which is a gluten-free baking mix. I'm just going to start with her. She is based out of New York City area. She's launching in the New York City market. And, she's a first-time founder. She was in Launch Lab, the September cohort, and she is going to be launching this June. The way that so she is a professional recipe developer. That is her background. Okay. So she put her formulations together and she has tested them over and over and over with events. Okay, so she shows up in real life with her gluten-free brownies and her gluten-free cookies at lots of New York City events where there's people, that are interested in products, and she's also done this a lot with the CPG community as well, like with other founders. And she's gotten a ton of feedback. Like I was at her first sampling event in New York, and the feedback was with the cookie, people like weren't loving the cookie. People were obsessed with the brownie. They were like, this is literally the best brownie I've ever had. And people were kind of like not really saying much about the cookie. And she was like, oh my God, I guess I really need to rethink the cookie recipe. Like she thought she had already nailed the cookie recipe, right? And this is like the beauty of doing this in person is because she was able to collect feedback and like do many other iterations of her cookie. And now her cookie is like perfect and launch ready, right? Kruno. You may or may not have seen this brand. This is a NorCal founder. She started off in the farmers markets. Her whole thing is she's working with anti-inflammatory ingredients, super high quality. This is like a higher end product. And she was making this all on her own in her kitchen. She validated it for about 9 months at the farmer's market. Okay, so she sold, and I'm not saying you have to do it for 9 months. That was like a longer period of time. She sold it in a brown bag at the farmer's market for 9 months because she really wanted to make sure that her recipes were on point and that people loved the product. Now, what has she done? She was in Launch Lab last year and she finally she worked with Kelly on brand strategy. She hired an amazing designer, and now she has a gorgeous retail ready packaging that she is now launching in natural specialty stores in the NorCal area. And she's doing a big relaunch on her website as well, too. So, Curd, you may have seen Curd. Curd is in pop-up grocer right now. She was in the last group of Launch Lab that just wrapped a couple weeks ago. This is a cottage cheese pudding. Okay. She validated her product with one pop-up event. Okay, just one. She took a bunch of product to a pop-up where there was about 150 people. She had about 50 people try the product, and people were obsessed with it, like absolutely obsessed with her product. That gave her the confidence that she had her formulations right and she had a product that people actually wanted. Plus, she was obviously looking at data around cottage cheese and how cottage cheese is like absolutely exploding right now. And she decided, hey, there's nobody out there that's doing cottage cheese in pudding format. She launched in pop-up grocer last month, and within about a week, she sold through 130 units. Okay. This is her validation. This is how she knows she's having something. So, how are you going to validate your product? Okay. How are you going to confirm that your formulation's on point and you have something that people are going to buy not just once, but over and over again? Okay. So now we're going to get into the creation section. This is the section that we actually now we're building the brand. Okay. So like now it's actually coming to life. We've already done all the research stuff. We've done the brand strategy. We know people want the product. Now we're going to trademark. Okay. We're going to name and we're going to trademark. We're going to, set up, we're going to form our company. We're going to set up, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Also, on the trademark tip, my recommendation, there's a lot of legal stuff that you can do yourself through LegalZoom. Trademarking is not one of the things that you should DIY. Okay. Product development, R&D, co-man search, certifications, audits. Does our product need to have any certifications? Okay. What type of co-manufacturer do we need to track down? Do we need to hire a food scientist to help us commercialize our formulas? Or do we already have formulas ready to go? Most of us will need a food scientist. Okay. I would maybe most of us is a strong term. I would say 65% of us will need a food scientist to help us finalize our formulation and our MIs, which translates as manufacturing instructions. Okay. So that's your R&D phase. All right. This section right here, guys, may be the most difficult section of your entire launch. Okay. It may be the hardest part of all of this, getting your formulation right and finding a manufacturer that's actually going to work with your most likely low MOQs. Okay. But oftentimes, too, what can be great is food scientists, if they're familiar with your category and your product, they probably know lots of manufacturers and they can probably help connect the dots. You can hire people to help you find manufacturers. You can use resources like Keychain. There's lots of different platforms out there. If you're feeling stuck and you can't get anyone to call you back, I would really take a hard look at how you're positioning yourself. Oftentimes, too, if you have food science professionals like on your outreach email and like you have people that are like seasoned in the industry working with you, oftentimes it gives the manufacturer like a lot more confidence in you because what manufacturers never want to hear is I'm a solo founder and I'm bootstrapped. Okay. Like, don't ever use those words, even though if it's true, that's fine. But like, just don't ever start with that. I'm a solo bootstrap founder. Like, please don't say that on your outreach. Okay. Then we move into branding because we've already done brand strategy, right? We've already done our brand strategy. Now we've got this great document that tells our branding and our design team exactly what we're going for, who our customer is, and what our unique value props are. Now we move forward, we pick a designer, okay? My recommendation, bundle your website and your branding together, you're going to get a better deal, okay? So like if you get a group, a design team to do them both together, you're going to pay less. If you do them a la carte, branding with one team, website with another team, guarantee you're going to pay higher. Okay. Please don't spend a crazy amount of money on branding and website in the early days. The sweet spot for a very high quality looking brand, you're probably wondering, it's ten to $15,000. Okay. That is what you should budget. If you are a web developer, great. It's going to be a lot cheaper for you. If you're a graphic designer and you do branding, fantastic. Like then it's going to be a lot cheaper for you as well too. But if that's not in your skill set, you know, you're going to want to budget for that. It's very important. Okay. And then, like I said, finding co-manufacturer supply partners, 3PLs. And then we're going to start to build our go-to-market strategy, which is basically like a big document on like how you're going to execute your entire launch and your entire plan. Okay, I dropped these brands in here. These are Launch Lab brands that I have worked with. I'm still working with. You may know them, Pantry Gems and Nita. They are both still pre-launch. They sound simple. One is a tomato paste sachet, a packet, like a perfectly portioned um, tomato paste tablespoon, and the other one, which with on the mission of like reducing tomato paste waste. Nita is pre-portioned crushed frozen chili and garlic. Okay. These may sound, oh, wow, these are simple products. These are not simple products, guys. These are very difficult products. Okay. Putting tomato paste in a shelf stable, like ketchup packet is so much more difficult than you could imagine, especially for a brand that is, starting off small, right? So the reason I put these here is because these are two brands that are taking a lot of time spending resources and serious strategy planning out how they are going to take their pantry and frozen brands to market. And they are still in this phase, right? They're launching soon, both of them, but sometimes, depending on your type of product, this phase can take a bit. Okay. We also have a couple other brands that are recently in launch labs. Steffi's, which is a frozen chicken nugget, frozen meat nugget brand, gluten-free, just super high quality product. Sappy is a coconut sugar nectar. Flyboy is a NA aperitif beverage, and Franz, which is a tinned like if you think of fishwife, tinned fish, she's doing tinned beans. Okay. So these are examples of four brands that just wrapped Launch Lab that are in this supply chain co-manufacturer search phase right now. And it's probably, these are complex products. Steffi is a frozen meat brand. Sappy is a nectar that, is basically like playing in the maple syrup space. Flyboy is an aperitif. There's a lot of functional ingredients going into this product, so it's making it a bit more complicated. And then Franz, like I said, is a tinned bean company, right? Not a can like a Campbell's soup can, like a tinned, like pull the top off tin. So innovation can take time sometimes. Okay, so be patient during that process. Phase three, fund. Okay. I'm going to keep things moving here. I want to make sure we've got time for Q&A. Okay, so fund. Balsam, how are we doing? Is there any questions?
There's a few. Let me just read
Okay.
one. So,
Okay.
Ali said, after using a real designer, would you recommend using AI to create additional assets with the brand guidelines on
Oh yeah, Allie. Yes, great idea. I love that. Uh-huh. Yep. As long as it sticks with the brand guidelines and it matches perfectly, right? So you might need to train it a bit.
it? Perfect. One more question is from David. He said, is the 10 to 15 grand for branding in the website?
Yes, correct, David. Yep. All
Okay,
combined.
perfect. Yeah,
Yep.
we can move on.
Okay, great. Now we're in the funding section, guys. Okay. What do we want to do with this brand? Like what are we doing here? Are we trying to create positive cash flow? Are we trying to have, run the brand with healthy margins and hopefully generate positive cash flow, but then also work towards a modest sale? Or are we trying to have a national brand with like a big blockbuster acquisition exit? What do you want? Okay. None of these things are wrong. None of these things are right. They're just all very different. Okay. So if you can have your eye on which one you think you want to move into, that's great. You can also start with the first option locally, build to regional, and then grow. I'm going to show you an example of a brand that's doing that right now. Then we need to build our financials based on our long-term goals. Okay. So in Launch Lab, we build budgets. You may also have to work with, depending on your funding strategy. And if you're going to be raising money, you may have to work with, you know, financial planning and analysis people to help you build out a fully flushed out cash flow, P&L, and balance sheet. So it really all depends on what our long-term goals and strategies are. So if you want to be a local regional brand generating positive cash flow, the things you should obsess over are your contribution margin, keeping things simple, and then choosing distribution that pays you quickly with high margins. Okay. So if that's selling directly to our customer, how can we sell directly to our customer? Is it farmers markets? Is it pop-ups? Is it through our website, right? How can we sell directly and collect the most cash? That also has to work with your supply chain though, as well too. And you have to make sure that your customer is shopping for whatever your product is in that format as well too. Okay. And then also like going back to what I dropped at the very beginning about 50% gross margins. If you want a brand that immediately generates positive cash flow, you have to have high gross margins because with this type of business, you have to constantly create more inventory, right? And that inventory costs money. So the profit of selling a single unit needs to be more than the cost of making the next unit. Okay. So that's just a really easy, simple way to think about how am I going to generate positive cash flow? Okay. Now, are you more interested in being a regional brand and moving towards a modest sale? Okay. So things that you should obsess over are building a, like a cult brand, essentially, right? Getting people obsessed with you, dominate a region, go super, super narrow and deep. Get in as many stores as you can in your backyard. Okay. Um, Whoever's going to buy you, they want to know that there is consistent reoccurring revenue, right? Invest in your brand and your systems, not a ton of growth, right? So we're thinking about how can we increase our velocities and our sell through in our backyard? How can we turn this one account where we're selling 5 units a week into selling 50 units a week? Okay, that's an amazing story, right? Show profitable growth or a clear path to it, right? These are going to be the things that help you get to, an acquirer being interested in scooping you up. Okay, now if we wanted to go like I know you guys watch the headlines, you see people like this brand just sold for, 2 billion, $1.2 billion. Like if that's what you aspire to, that's great. Just remember, like those are very few and far between, though we do see them in the headlines. It's important to be in reality about what it takes to actually get there. So build for scale from day one, right? You're going to need margins that can support trade spend and a whole lot of marketing. You're going to need a really solid supply chain and pricing architecture that works nationally, which isn't always the most profitable, especially at the beginning, which means you're going to need a lot more cash. All right. So you're going to need to win in the right channels first. So channels that scale. Um, really strong velocities, okay? Not just doors, you need doors that are moving product, okay? And you want to really tell a category creating story. You're not just a product, you're shifting a behavior maybe. There's a clear white space that you're dominating, why you're going to win long term. Um, and this is how you're going to get like a larger, a larger organization interested in your product, okay? I wanted to drop Bad Hombres because I feel like these guys are one of the best case studies of this right now. Bad Hombres was in the first cohort of Launch Lab. They are a frozen burrito brand out of Phoenix. I still work with this brand. They started local and they only focused on the Phoenix area. Okay. They made burritos in a commercial kitchen. They eventually started to sell out like crazy and moved into, they got like a storefront. They like took over an old Taco Bell and just operated on a pickup model. Then they moved to delivery. Now they are, then they expanded to all of Arizona frozen shipping. Now they're all of the West Coast frozen shipping. And by within the next couple months, they're going to be a fully national brand doing D2C frozen burrito shipping. Okay. This brand has been completely obsessed with building a strong brand, building a cult-like following. People are obsessed with them. They have a ton of followers. They produce super high quality content, not at a crazy pace. They don't post that much. They just, when they do post, it's like really high quality. And they have kept their prices super fair. They focused on positive cash flow, and that's why they sold locally and regionally because they wanted to make sure that they didn't have high costs and they were getting paid quickly. Okay. So this is an example of a brand that started real local, moved to regional, and now they're about to go national, and you'll see them probably next year in grocery stores. This brand is absolutely on fire. If you don't follow them on Instagram, I've definitely checked them out. They have an incredible story. Okay. Watch their growth. They're doing really, really cool things and they're being very strategic about it. Okay. Phase 4, market and sell. All right. So I'm going to whip through this pretty quick, guys. When we're thinking about marketing, we should be thinking about it in 3 buckets. Okay. Brand acquisition and retention. Okay. It's your strategy. So what type of marketing you're doing? Is it brand acquisition or retention? And then your channel. Where are you doing it? Is it Facebook? Is it TikTok? Is it Amazon? Whatnot? Okay. Strategy is the why. So, what is your objective? Before you spend a dollar on marketing, always ask yourself, what is my objective with this marketing dollar? The channel, where you're spending it, and the tactics is how we're going to do it. Okay. So, strategy. So, let's just look at brand for a second. Okay. Brand marketing, what it does, it builds awareness and affinity. Some examples of it are PR, sampling, events, sponsorships, collabs, organic social posting. Okay. All of the things that like you can't really measure so much. They don't always turn into immediate purchases, but are crucial for paving the your credibility essentially. Acquisition marketing drives new customer purchases. It's paid media, essentially, paid ads, TikTok shop, Amazon ads, retail demos, and temporary price reductions. Okay, this is acquisition marketing. And then retention marketing is, engaging and retaining existing customers, email, SMS, loyalty programs, etc. It's a lot cheaper to retain your current customers than it is to acquire new ones. Keep that in mind, okay? But at the beginning, when you're early and pre-launch, you need to focus 70% of your budget and your, total just, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's like just your 70% of your efforts on brand marketing, 20% on acquisition, and 10% on retention. When you move into growth phase and you are a little bit bigger, you'll spend a little bit less on brand marketing. That'll like, weigh itself out with acquisition and then a little bit more on retention. And then as you scale, you dial back the brand marketing, you dial, the acquisition down just a touch, and then retention, you really increase because, like I said, it's cheaper to retain than to acquire new. Okay, more examples of brands who are doing brand marketing. This is a brand called Rabbit Hole. She has a farm stand up in NorCal. This was a recent Launch Lab grad. She has farm stands in NorCal where they sell produce. She's launching a veggie snack. Okay. She's got a big following on TikTok and like she's really leveraging her following to drive awareness towards her new snack company called Rabbit Hole that's going to be launching in September. And she's really pushing towards driving to the wait list. Um, I'm sorry, I don't know why this slide is blank. Um, sorry, the images look like they're not loading. Oh no, why are these not? Okay, sorry guys, there's two examples. Don't worry, you'll get this deck afterwards. There's two examples that were good ones in there, but brand marketing, you may have seen G's Cheese. Um, she is a cottage cheese dip founder. She's building in public. She's doing a ton of brand marketing in real life events, press, and really just like, showing people behind the scenes her journey on what it's been like building this brand. This is another Launch Lab grad. They are already launched and they are doing a lot of new customer acquisition with paid media specifically. Okay, so as you can see, this is a lot of sponsored posts. And they're really targeting moms who are busy and seeking something better. Okay. So, guys, that was a lot of information, summary and takeaways. I'm going to whip through these. Clarity beats speed. The fastest way to launch is knowing what you're building, who it's for, and that's going to help you make sure it fits before you spend real money. So that's what I was talking about. Like, really nail that brand strategy first. Margins are strategy, not math. If the unit economics don't work early, no amount of marketing distribution will save the business later. Now, it's okay on day one if the margins aren't great, but what is your path out, right? Build with the end in mind, okay? Do we want a cash flow brand, a regional exit, or a big national play? Okay, so what you're doing today, lock in the future for you tomorrow. Do fewer things, but do them right. Too many SKUs, too many channels, too many partners. That's what I was talking about with founder overwhelm. Really just do a few simple things and do it really well. I can't recommend that enough. You don't need to know everything. You just need a roadmap. It's okay that you don't know everything. I have been doing this for 17, 18 years now. It's taken me a really long time to learn all of this information because it's complex. It's a complex industry and it's challenging. You're not going to know everything, and it's okay, right? Just map out a roadmap, partner with people who do know, right? The brands that win aren't the ones that do the most. They're the ones that make the fewest expensive mistakes. I really believe this. And that is like my whole mission with my company, with my programs, etc. Like, let's help you avoid making expensive mistakes. So Launch Lab, there's a couple different ways if you're interested in working with me inside Launch Lab. We have the pre-recorded version and we have Launch Lab Live. So in Launch Lab, we set your brand up for success. You gain insider knowledge and really avoid costly mistakes. And I give you a proven roadmap. It's a step-by-step strategy to go from idea to launch without the guesswork, without the overwhelm. You show up in office hours with your questions, and I help you work through things. Okay. So I've got two programs. The first program, the live cohort program here on the left, this only kicks off in March and September. We have our early registration open. The reason I have it open is because it usually does sell out. You can pay in full or you have, a payment plan option. It's all taught live by me. It's over the course of 10 weeks with 40 other brands. Workshops are 1 hour. We have a total of about 25 workshops. There's 4 modules. We meet about 3 times a week. Then, if you want to do the self-paced program, say you want to start now, you can also do that. I have a recorded version of Launch Lab. It's just a little bit like the content's a little bit tighter. We don't have as many contributors, but it's very flexible. You can watch it anytime. You could start today if you wanted. Okay. So here's just a little bit more on it. They both still have weekly office hours. You'll still get time with me. If you want that in office hours, you can show up in 15-minute slots. You still have access to the community in the recorded version versus the live. The recorded version, you're just not meeting on on Zoom every day of the workshop with other founders. You're doing it at your own pace. Okay. And like I said, for start dates, Launch Lab Live kicks off on in September. Okay. So it's the second week of September we're kicking off. So the total cost is $19.99, but the price will increase to $2,250. Okay. And then the course is the $1,000. There's also payment plans as well too. Okay, if you do want to register today, I mentioned my profit plan a couple times. This is the thing that I would say I'm most known for. All of my founders really enjoy this. I work with people, I've done this with hundreds of founders where we really map out your cost of goods estimations and where you should be selling at what points based on your margins. And then we put together a channel strategy. So if you register by 3 o'clock today, that piece, the profit planning piece, is complimentary. Okay. And you can schedule that at your leisure. This is who's going to be joining us for contributors in September. A few of these contributors up top are in the recorded version. So Nicole, who talks about packaging, Nicole Krasnow, then Nicole Schwartz, who's my trademark attorney. She dives into trademarking. Kelly Bennett also contributes on the recorded course as well too. And there will be more workshops added to the course, but it's the same core materials in the recorded course. You're still going to get all the workshops with me. Okay. Um, just some reviews. This is Bad Hombres. They're one of my rockstar brands that I mentioned earlier. Um, they had no prior CPG experience before they came to me in Launch Lab, and I helped them build a super solid foundation and a plan to get them from super tiny, regional, local brand to where they are now, which is national expansion. And then I also have another amazing founder, Sandra. She's the founder of Briska. She also had no prior CPG experience, and now she's been featured in Bon Appetit and Vogue. She just had a billboard in Times Square, which is kind of crazy. That was the marketing slide that the images didn't load. I'm sorry about that. But she's really just expanding her business on the West Coast and through Fair and Air Goods, and she's thriving. She's doing great. So let's build your brand smarter. Okay. Don't be a part of the 85% failure rate, guys. If you put together some systems and processes and let me help you lay the foundation, I can guarantee that you are going to be so much better off and stronger. So thank you all so much for joining me. Balsam, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. Some people and attendees are asking about private consultant or perhaps a la carte consultant if that's available as well.
Yeah, for sure. Feel free to just schedule a 15-minute. Balsam, did you drop the 15-minute link for my calendar?
Jumping around now, tagging everyone.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Okay.
if you guys want to, if you want to work one-on-one, you can also just schedule like a 15-minute intro call with me. Cool. What others? For some reason, I can't see the chat. I don't know.
I should
Oh, wait.
stop
Yeah.
sharing.
Yes. Will we be sending the deck? Yes. YouTube replay. Okay, Susie, yes, confused. I'm not sure what you're confused about. Sorry. Balsam, any more questions here? I just want to make
Yes,
sure
so
I'm not missing any.
Kristen said, would this work for beauty brands as well? I know you said found them at beverage. So would this work
Yeah,
for
no, this is not for beauty brands. No, it's specifically for food and beverage. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Beauty is a whole different industry. Not my specialty, though I love it. Not my specialty.
so
Um,
William said, what resources do you recommend for people just thinking about getting into CPG with no brand or business yet? Do you have some sort of program or resource for that as well?
Yes, William. Okay, so if you are just thinking about it, I highly recommend Launch Lab. That is my recommendation. It is an educational program that gives you all the information on what it takes to launch this business. And at the end, you can decide if you want to move forward with a launch. But that's the point, is to give you information and resources so you can save yourself, months of time, money, resources going down rabbit holes and trying to figure it out on your own. You may decide you don't want to launch a brand as well too. And there's nothing wrong with that. At least you have the information and you made a small investment versus figuring out that you didn't want to do it after you already started, right? And maybe spent tens of thousands of dollars. Okay. I see a question from Kara. Any advice on where to find funding, incubators, VCs, how to get in touch with them, how to put our brand out there and show that we're in the market to partner and potentially provide equity for funding? Yes, there's tons of resources out there. I would say that first, it's important to get your materials ready and also make sure that you have like a super solid story and a playbook on what you're offering. So if you're going the VC route, I would just say that most VCs aren't going to want to talk to you until you're at least close to $1 million in revenue. I highly recommend trying to self-fund at the very beginning, with maybe a little bit of debt financing, credit cards, loans, etc., and savings. Get your brand together, build something, build buzz, get velocity going, and then go out and try and raise money. Okay, so there's three things, and I probably need to add this into the presentation. I'm glad you brought that up. There's three things that you really, really should have in place before you go and fundraise. It's buzz around your brand. Okay, you must have buzz. You must be proven, right? Don't try and raise money if you haven't proven your concept yet. Okay. And then you must have decent unit economics, right? Or a path to good unit economics. Those three things must be in place before you raise money. Otherwise, whoever comes in is going to take the majority of your company. Okay. John, alcoholic beverages. Yes, this program is good for alcoholic beverages. Any advice on where to find? Okay, funding, we just went that. Yes. Experience dealing with national distribution and its complexity. Yes, I do. Lots of experience. Do you do private consulting? Yes, I do. Okay, July. Awesome, Ava. Sounds great. Cool. Is it the live training or the pre-recorded one that you recommend for me, William? Okay, great question. Really just totally depends, you guys, on how do you want a community where you're building alongside other founders? If so, I recommend joining Launch Lab Live. If you just want to get going and you want to start and you want this information, then you can do the recorded course. Okay. You still have access to the community in the recorded course. You're just not on the live workshops with them every day. You're watching it on your own, right? So it really just depends. Are you one of those types of people that thrives in a group environment, or are you totally cool flying solo? It's really just up to you. Okay, free intro calls, gearing towards pre-start. Yeah. So for pricing, it really just depends on consulting. It really just depends on what we're doing. So I recommend setting up a 15-minute call. Geared towards pre-start options for early growth or growth phase brands. Yes. Does this include supplements in the nutraceutical space? I do work with supplement brands, Andrew. Yes. All right, guys, we're totally over time. I'm sorry, but it was great to connect with you all. Thank you for joining me and listening to this information. Use me as a resource, use Launch Lab as a resource, and I would love to stay connected. If we're not already connected, follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Okay, guys? Great to chat with you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Danny.